Hello Internet Allies, how are you doing? So in celebration of Marvel's new Disney Plus series, What If, which I'm really looking forward to because it kind of explores like different scenarios and different multiverses and how things would have played out like a little differently with different characters if they'd met, or if different characters were in different situations. I thought I'd make a video talking about what if the pandemic never happened, because that kind of thing, like multiverses and butterfly effects and whatnot, that kind of stuff really interests me, sort of thing, you know, thinking, oh right, what if certain things happened in a different way? What would my life be like? What would everybody else's lives be like? And how would it affect other people as well, and myself? So, here we go. Speaking of like Marvel series, Marvel movies, etc., the MCU in general, I do think that the pandemic has postponed a lot of movies, and I do think that there were some movies such as Black Widow, such as James Bond, No Time to Die, that should have come out like early last year but are only starting to come out now. And I think the MCU would have definitely progressed a lot faster if it weren't for the pandemic. And it's just kind of painful and agonizing to like wait so long for like all these like Marvel projects to come out, all these movies that I've been looking forward to for a very long time to come out. When the pandemic hit, I lost a lot of momentum with my videography work, which I worked so hard to build up for a year prior to the pandemic. And yeah, my first year as a full-time freelance videographer was a solid first year. And when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, not that all that hard work went away, but it was really hard for me to get back to a place where I was before the pandemic. And I had a few people who were interested in commissioning me for videography jobs before the pandemic hit, or just before the pandemic hit, and when the pandemic hit, those jobs couldn't go ahead for obvious reasons because everything was shut down. And this pandemic has definitely affected a lot of self-employed people, and I think a lot of self-employed people have definitely struggled and have had to look to other areas for work and for making money as well. And it's definitely been tricky for everybody, and I think for me it's like I'm only just starting now over the past few months to pick up that momentum that I lost during the pandemic. And it's been really difficult for me, to be honest, because it is kind of getting myself back out there and learning how to like reconnect with people and learning how to put myself back out there again. And it is kind of like I'm back at like square one a little bit as well. And yeah, I don't think that would have happened if the pandemic hadn't hit. So next I'm going to talk about friendships and relationships and whatnot. So I think this pandemic has been challenging for everybody socially. It's definitely made me miss my friends a lot, especially my long distance friends who I don't get to see as often. But I do think with some of my long distance friends, I do think that we have been able to keep in touch during this pandemic more than ever over Zoom. I think with this pandemic, it has challenged me and my long distance friends to try different ways of keeping in touch, which I don't think we would have discovered if the pandemic hadn't hit. However, on the other hand, I do think if the pandemic hadn't happened, I do think I would have been able to see those long distance friends more in person. You know, we could have like met up like in places such as like London or Brighton. I think we always wanted to go to Brighton, or even places that are closer to where I live as well, such as like Birmingham, Manchester. And it would have been good to have like met up with my long distance friends a bit more if a pandemic had never happened and whatnot and stuff. I also think something that's definitely helped me cope through this pandemic is TikTok. And I don't know how much the pandemic really affected me using TikTok, because I think it's always kind of been an eventuality. I don't know whether TikTok would have been as big as it is now if it weren't for the pandemic. I think TikTok has helped a lot of people, including myself, cope during the pandemic as well. It's been a great creative outlet. And also with TikTok, I do think that I've been able to build like a really nice community over there, and I've even made a few good friends on TikTok as well. And I don't know whether or not I would have spoken to those people as much on TikTok or connected with those people as much on TikTok if it weren't for the pandemic. Again, maybe as with like long distance friendships, because like a lot of people that I've made friends with on TikTok do live quite far away from me. You know, I might have been able to have met them in person by now. Who knows if it weren't for the pandemic. And I don't know how much time I would invest in TikTok if it weren't for the pandemic as well. I also think this pandemic has brought me closer to my family and has made me kind of realise and learn a lot of things about my family which I don't think I would have learned if it weren't for the pandemic. Such as, you know, things that they like, things that they don't like, you know, sort of how much I value my own space as well sometimes. And it can be difficult when everybody's in the same house all the time and we're all sort of in each other's space, in each other's way. That can sometimes be a bit stressful, and I don't think I would have realised that, and I don't think like my family would have realised that if it weren't for the pandemic. And I think this pandemic has kind of taught me and my family to be more considerate of each other. Also, I do think if it weren't for the pandemic, I would have been able to have attended like a few events that have been cancelled because of the pandemic. You know I wanted to definitely go to Comic-Con again, take my friend Josh to Comic-Con, maybe take a few of my other friends who have never been to Comic-Con before. I've never been to a Pride event before, like, and I would love to go to a Pride event. And I think if the pandemic had never happened, I think I would have been able to have done all those things. I also think that just before the pandemic, I did get a bit of a travel bug. You know, I went on holidays to like New York, travelled to Dublin, to London. And even before that, you know, there was places like Iceland, Mallorca, Disneyland, all amazing places. And I think I definitely would have been able to have done a lot more travelling if it weren't for the pandemic and stuff like that. And I think, again, it's kind of getting that confidence back to do more travelling and stuff like that. Like, sort of like going on the train for the first time in forever, like, you know, a couple of months ago. That was a really crazy experience. You know, I mean, I only went to Birmingham, which is about a 40-minute train journey for me. And yeah, like, I think I only wanted to go to Birmingham just for that train journey, like, just to get me back used to being on a train again. And it would just been lovely to have explored a few more places like last year if I could, like, but obviously not because of the pandemic. It's just a shame that, you know, that kind of confidence in travelling has kind of gone a little bit, but at the same time I'm still very keen to do more travelling when I can. I think I want to wait until more places are open to the UK before I do decide to travel abroad. But I do think that this pandemic has definitely made me appreciate the small things in life as well, and also just sort of like the home comforts, like things in this country even. You know, there's lots of places in this country I've not yet explored and would still love to explore. And there's even places that I've not been to for a few years, such as like Wales and stuff. Like, you know, I'd love to go back to Wales because I do genuinely have a great time there, and it is like probably my favourite country in the UK. Yeah, and Cardiff I think is the best capital city in the UK. That is just my personal opinion. And that kind of includes like Dublin and Ireland as well, like, even though that is the Republic of Ireland, not Northern Ireland. I've never actually been to Belfast, so I can't really judge Belfast, but I've been to Edinburgh and I've been to London. But yeah, like, it would be great to do more travelling, but like, yeah, it's definitely made me appreciate this country a lot more and what this country has to offer a lot more. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in what ways you think the pandemic's affected you and what you think life would have been like if the pandemic hadn't happened. I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep smiling, guys. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Bye bye.